Okay, Parshas Kedoshim. What does Kedoshim means? You should be holy, right? Kedoshim tiyu, you should be holy. That's the Parsha. Sometimes the Parsha comes separated. Sometimes it comes together. Achrei Mois Kedoshim. Last week's Parsha, this Parsha, sometimes they come together. This year, it comes separate. Why is it coming separate? Because we have enough weeks between Pesach and Shavuot to be able to separate the Parshiot. However, in 2 weeks, we're going to put them together because we want to make sure to finish off in a certain amount of Parshios before Shavuot. Okay. Anyway, Kedoshim is one of the Parshios which is short in psukim, in phrases, but full with mitzvahs. We have in this parsha 64 psukim.
That's all?
That's all. That's why a lot of time it comes together with Achrei Mois, so it goes together very well, you know. Short parsha, usually two parshas go together. Kedoshim has 64 psukim. It has 51 mitzvot. And basically, in one pasuk, you might have two. Loi tikoim v'loi siter. 3. Do not take revenge. Don't hold a grudge. And love your fellow as yourself. In one pasuk, you have 3 mitzvahs. And major mitzvahs, the big mitzvahs. Why is this parsha called Kedoshim holy? Because what's the idea of Kedoshim, holy? What does holy mean? Holy means you should separate yourself. Separate from the regular, being above, being separate, Havdalah. Prisha of Havdalah, it's called. And we know we get married, it's called Kiddushin. What does Kiddushin mean? Why is it called Kiddushin? Holy? Someone marries a woman and gives her the ring and it makes Kiddushin. It makes her holy. It makes her separated. She is now separated of the entire world only with him. So that's called Kiddushin, separated. Kodesh means holy. But Kodesh to holy, I would think you're talking about mitzvahs. There would be incredible mitzvahs. Here we're talking about 51 mitzvahs. 13 of them are mitzvahs that you should do. And the rest, 38 mitzvahs, I'm not an accountant, but 38 mitzvahs are not to do. A lot of not to do. What don't you do? Don't kill, don't steal, all those mitzvahs. How does it belong together with holy, be Kedoshim? And think about it. The pasuk, the Torah starts off with the 3 phrases. Kedoshim tiyu le'elokechem, you should be holy to your God. And then it goes, the next pasuk, it says, Ish imoi ve'oviv tiro. Every person should be feared of their mother and father. The mother and father they should fear. And then it continue at Shabsoisai Tishmoiro, and you should keep our Shabbos. What's the connection to holy parents, honoring parents, such an honor that you should be really fearful from them? And then you go about Shabbos. There has to be some kind of a connection. Now, and then the Torah continues about that's called Orla. What's Orla? Orla means 3 years you should not have any fruit that grows. You're not allowed to have it. This law of Orla is much harsher than any other thing that you cannot eat or you cannot have. It's almost like...
Is that in the state of Israel or everywhere?
I'm getting to it. Getting to it. Very good. Orla is such a harsh thing. It's something like chometz. It's not, you don't get punished like chometz on Pesach, but it's not like non-kosher food. Non-kosher food, you're not allowed to eat. But you're allowed to benefit. You're allowed to give it as a gift to a non-Jew. You're allowed to sell. You're allowed to make business with that. So many business, so much stocks you have with non-kosher items, right? It's not a problem. You're allowed to derive profit from that. Hano, you're allowed to have pleasure from that. Maybe you're allowed to smell it. fruits of Orla, 3 years, you can't even sell it. You can't even have hanoah from that. You're not allowed to have hanoah. That's prohibited. It's much, much harsher. What happened the fourth year? The fourth year, still can't use it. It's called netarevai. What does it mean, netarevai? It means the fourth year, I'm giving you like a parav. I'm giving you a bridge. You want to start eating? Take it easy. Take the fruit, and you can eat it in one place, in holiness. How are you going to be holy? First of all, you're going to be tahor, pure, clean, and you're going to eat it in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is the holy city of Yerushalayim. Only Yerushalayim you can eat those fruits. But what happens if I have a farm and I can't? So the Torah gives you a way out. And the way out is you exchange. You buy the fruits, and the value of the money you use in Yerushalayim. That money that you got for the farm. How much money do you have to? You have to take an appraiser? No, you don't. Since you can't use the fruit, so really it has no value. Or you could give even a token meaning a porter, anything. Same thing, you can marry with a porter. Why can you marry with a porter? Because it's, you can't put a price for it. So you give whatever it is, you have to give something, so you give only something. So the same thing goes about netarevai. You can give a porter, and then you bring it to Yerushalayim. There's one more thing over here. Amongst other things, there's a very interesting din, which it says in the Torah. It's called shatnez and kilaim. And the reason that I'm mentioning that, because not everyone is so familiar with those laws. So I know they ask me always speak Chassidus, speak Kabbalah, but if we don't speak about the laws, especially in the parsha like today, so we don't get to that. Shatnez means a clothing that has two different items. An item that comes from live animal and an item that comes from growth, which is wool and linen, pishtan, right? Only pishtan comes from something that grows. You make linen out of that, and wool you make from sheep. From sheep. Only from that. Only this kind is prohibited. You're allowed to have other kind of items. Is no problem. You can mix it up. This is a prohibition to use something that has in it together. So you're going to tell me, what do you mean? I looked over here and I see it says 100% wool. No problem. There is a problem, because if you look good, and I do want to mention, first of all, I want to make the shir should be l'schus my son, that he has a birthday today, a young 19-year-old boy. So Shalom Doiv Ben and Yitzchok should be have a shnas hatzlocha. And my father, Oliver Sholem, my father, which is his grandfather, was a shatnez checker.
Wow.
So he was a shatnez checker, but he checked shatnez, and he learned it in the shatnez laboratory in Williamsburg about 75 years ago, whatever, probably. That's when he learned it. So many years, he came to town. Antwerp, Belgium was the only Orthodox, thousands of Jews. There was only one person that checked shatnez, which is on Lee Avenue, Shatnez Laboratory on Lee Avenue. Yeah. So he checked. So I saw it with my own eyes. In here, always inside here. Yeah. If the suit comes from Europe, from more exclusive places, they put in those expensive. They don't make it just like that. So they have linen inside, and it's sewed together in the buttons, in the pants inside there, in here, right over here. Used to take it out. He had to be like a tailor. When he opened it up and went there, dig in like a sheikh goes in the animal. He goes into the suit. Shatnez, and you're not allowed to go with. That's a prohibition to wear shatnez. I want to get into this, if I have time to get in, a little bit Kabbalistic and ideas about it. But first I want to with the ABC, the laws, shatnez. Then you have also another thing is kilaim. Kilaim means taking fruits, taking vegetables, taking a mixture. You know, I like an orange and I like a nectarine. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to make an avocado with it. I'm create a new thing. Those fruits you can't not allowed to do it. I'm not saying not allowed to eat it. Not allowed to do it. Kil ayin. Not allowed to do it. So it's called a mixture. So we're talking about chutneys, all those kind of things. Chutneys is all over. Everything is all over. There are certain things that's only in the Israel, in the Holy Land, which is basically, we know Shemitah, right? 7 years you work, 6 years, the 7th year, which we're going to learn about it in 2 weeks from now. You have to let this comes only in Israel, only in holiness of Israel. Orla, I would think maybe only in Israel, but there's a Mishnah clear that says that Orla goes all over. It's in a few places, a Mishnah in Orla, a Mishnah in Tractate Kedoshim, that Orla goes in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz. In other words, in 3 years of a tree starting to grow, you're not allowed to have the fruit. The difference going to be is it in out of your Israel, Mina Torah, or is it Midrabanon? So there's 3 opinions. And the halacha is it's only halacha l'Moshe Messina. It's only so it's not a real love. You don't get malchus for that, but the difference is going to be if you have a doubt if it's Orla or not, then you're allowed. You understand? Orla does not get mixed up like every other food. Every other non-kosher food that you know either gets mixed up by majority, and mixed up means you say that abnos. That goes out. Non-kosher food. You cooked something. Boom, you had something non-kosher came in. Or milk came in into meat, which is terrible, right? So if there is 60 times as much, sometimes they say 100 times as much, so it disappears. It's not here, it's gone. You don't have any taste, don't have nothing, it disappears. Allah is so strict 200 times, 201 times, whichever, anyway. And also you're not allowed to do it on purpose, only if it happens. Anyway, why is the idea of Orla? What's the idea? 3 years, 4th year, half. Is the 4th year like the 3 years, but half? Is it holier? The Torah calls it kodesh. Orla is prohibited, and the 5th year I can eat as much as I can. If everything is to prepare myself for the 5th year, so the 5th year should be really holy. I'm allowed to eat 5th year, even if I'm not pure, even if I am. I mean, I can't eat on the street like whatever, but I can eat. I can eat all over, right? Why is that? What's the idea? What's the idea of that? And now, what's the problem with having linen and wool together? And what's the problem with having fruits together or vegetables to mix them up and having kilayim? What is the problem? And what's the whole connection to the kodesh, to kedoshim? And what does it have to do? Not to steal and not to lie, not to swear for false. All those things you call kedoshim, holy, holy, holy. How does it work all together? Okay, I'm gonna go straight to one point, and the point is like this: holy does not mean that you should be completely not belonging. That's why you're holy. When you separate something, that means you're one of them, you're one of that, and you separate. The only time we can separate as a yid is when something that we have similarity to the nations. You can't separate in something which we have no connection to them. But in eating, and in drinking, and in walking, and in behaving in the world, we have some kind of we have a physical world, and the whole world has a physical world. So we have some kind of a connection. Says the Torah, separate yourself. Separate yourself, be higher. Show how special you are. How are you special? Because I am holy, and you're connected to me. So you're going to be holy. I am always, I don't change ever. You're going to be the same thing. Ki kodesh ani. How are you going to start off? With education. Who is educating the kids? The parents. Really, the mother more. That's why it starts off with the mother. Mother, father, because the mother is more invested in education. So mother, father, you're going to be a mensch, derech eretz. You're going to be a mensch to them, and they're going to educate you and tell you why you're different, why you're special, why you're separating, and not going to be like the regular world. And in what does it come? With Shabbos. Shabbos is a sign between Hashem and the Eden, right? This is the sign that I'm giving you. What am I giving you? That especially for you, that this is the education they're going to give. That's why the Torah starts off with Kedoshim to parents and Shabbos, which is fine. But why does it go with all the other sins and bad things connection to Kodesh? Because that's why you have to be Kodesh. You have to be Kodesh, meaning that you have to make a world. You're not going to separate yourself and nothing to do with the world. Be in the world where there is stealing, don't steal. That's what and this is where I'm going to emphasize you think. I'm telling you now, don't eat the 3 years, because the 3 years is, I don't want to get into Kabbalistic thing, but there is something called 3 peels. Sholish klippus is called. 3 peels. And a knot, you have 3 peels. And then you have the inside is the 4th one, which is very thin. You can eat it and you cannot eat it. It's like the layer, the small layer, and the knots. Those 3 peels are to protect the knot, really. But after Adam Rishon sinned, what did he sin? He sinned with a fruit. So Allah is only fruit, not in vegetables. Obviously, because fruits grow years, vegetables don't grow years. They grow every year another one. So you can't tell me 3 years. But in fruits, he sinned. How long did Adam Rishon sin? We spoke about it always after in Parshas Bereshis. Adam Rishon, he sinned about how many hours? It says in Medrash it brings down 3 hours. He was born in 9 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock he should have been. He had 3 hours of a. He had 3 hours to not eat. 3 hours. 3 hours says the Shachal Torah. I quote him a lot, many times. The Shachal Torah says those 3 hours is reading 3 years to return that. But what he did is, Adam Rishon, he made this peel that's made to protect, and not anymore protecting. They worked against us. Klippa works against Kedusha. They're like now against. So the only way, thank you so much. So the only way that the Klippa is to work, it should become back when Mashiach comes, it should be our protection, is by 3 years we don't do nothing and we don't use it. So that's why we're not allowed to have any fruits. It's a very, very important din. Even though here in Chutz La'aretz it's only with the Rabbanon, but you're not allowed. You understand? It's like you can't even have a hanor from that. Now the 4th year, that's already a question between the Rambam and the Rosh, if it applies in America, out of Israel or not. But it's not a big deal, because you take a pruta and you just replace it, and you take this money and you bury it. You don't use it. You don't use it bechal. Okay, so the 3 years I just wanted to touch that. Then I want to talk to you about kilayim and shatnez. What's the idea? The idea of shatnez is everything that Hashem created has something to it. Wool is wool, linen is linen, and it's important. Each one should be an individual. It also a little bit with their husband and a wife. The only way it can go together when it becomes holy. Holy means is it doesn't have anything by itself. Husband and wife, they get married. Each one, they're building something holy. They're not stam. Each one is staying themselves. They're giving in and they're building. They're making holy. So that's why they did the closing of the Kohen, or in the Beis Hamikdash, this was from shatnez. No problem, because holy, there's room for 2. But anything that's created in this world is, Hashem says, don't put them together. They don't work together. You have to work on each one. You cannot have both things together. And that's why also kilayim, fruits, you can't make them that they should go together. But shatnez is even more than that. To Kabbalistic, And people say more than that, even health-wise, even though it's one of the laws that we do not understand, it's like the red calf, something we don't understand. This is like called a chok, a law, but whatever, but Hashem made, there is, if we want to really know, we know that it's not healthy. The same thing is a non-kosher food is not healthy. All those things are physically not well. So this all goes to one thing, to Kodesh. Kodesh means that you should be connected to me, even though it's something that you think, oh, in the world, I don't have to be, I mean, I'm going to be in the shul, I say it all the time, I'm going to be holy, but then I go to the world, I'm going to be like everyone. No, be during when you're doing everyone and you're going to be connected to Hashem, that's when you're going to be Kodesh. And that's why I call this Parshas Kedoshim. I want to finish with one note that the Kleyoker says. Kleyoker is one of the explanatories on the Parsha. In the beginning, he says, Kedoshim Tiyu. He has another vote that in this Parsha, you have the 10 Commandments. That's the reason that he says, Kol Adas Yisrael. Not every time when Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Yidden, he said, he spoke to the Yidden. Here he says, Kol Adas Yisrael, all the Yidden. So Rashi says, because it's a Parsha that has a lot of mitzvahs. He says, because in this parsha you have the 10 Commandments. How so? The 10 Commandments is right away in the beginning. He said, Kedoshim ti ani Hashem Elekechem. So this is Anoich Hashem Elekecha. Then he says about being careful for your parents. That's what it says in the 10 Commandments. Honor your parents. Shabbos says in the 10 Commandments, not to steal, not to kill. Everything, all these things says in the Torah. So it's a parsha that's full. I think I know I'm over time, but there's so much to talk about a parsha like that. We should take this parsha and to remember that every Yid is special, and every Yid is Kodesh. Why is he Kodesh? Holy, because the Eibishter is holy, and the Eibishter says, "Be like me." How can you be like me in the world, and you're going to behave like a Yid? You become holy.